And now, the Lowdown, with economist and political strategist Elson Low.
Tonight. Thank you for joining us. We're going to have an interesting show tonight. We're going to talk quite a bit about the press conference that we had today, some of the announcements that were made at that press conference, give you guys a bit more perspective on that, on this particular, this tonight. And what we're also going to do is cover a few topical things that have happened over the course of the past few days. We'll try to give you some perspective on those so that going forward into the new week, you have a good sense of what's going on in the country, what are the main issues, what's being done and what's not being done. So we're gonna have an interesting show. We're also going to have a quick chat with Vice Chairman of the PNCR, Miss Elizabeth Williams-Niles. She's going to speak about some flooding that is affecting some residents. So that's something that we're also going to talk about. Folks, share the link. Let's try and get everyone on. Let's give everyone an opportunity to be on the show. We try to keep things light here on the Lowdown. So share the link, and let's try and give everyone a chance to be a part of the show tonight. We're going to talk about some interesting things. We've seen some, in my humble opinion, bold proposals be put forward by the PNCR to tackle the inflationary problem in Guyana, and that is in part due to the rise in the price of gasoline. So we'll talk quite a bit about that. We're going to talk about the very concerning actions we've seen by the police over the course of the past few days, which the leader, of course, mentioned because he himself was followed by the police, which was very alarming. So we're going to talk a bit about that, and we're going to talk a bit about a few other issues that have come up over the course of the last week. So share the link, folks. Share the link. Let's try and get everyone on tonight. We apologize for a little bit of a late start. So let's try and get everyone in. Share the link. Share that link. Let's get everyone in. Thank you for starting your week off on a high with Elson Low. It's always good to be here with you guys. It's always good to have a chat, to learn a little bit about what's going on in the country, a little bit more about these issues, to get a little bit more depth regarding these issues, and to have a laugh. So share the link, folks. Let's try and get everyone on tonight. Let's get everyone there, so we can get everyone, give everyone some perspective as to how things are moving along in the country. Share the link, folks. Let's try and get everyone in. Thank you for being here with us tonight. I'm your host, Elson Low, in case you didn't already know. Didn't mean to rhyme there. We have another episode. We have another showing on Saturday evenings of the Lowdown. That's where we go into a little bit more detail on individual policies and so on. So that's something that we look at as well. It is, hopefully something that you might be interested in. So I'd encourage you to tune in on Saturdays as well, when we talk in a bit more depth about these issues. We've spoken at length about the cost of living crisis. We've spoken at length about some of the government's public investment, some of the government's public investment programs, which are not the best, such as Amalia Falls and so on. So we've had interesting conversations about these issues, and we continue to have interesting conversations about these issues. We want to ensure that as much as possible, Guyanese fully understand what's going on in their country and what they should be concerned about. So that the lowdown on Saturday night goes into a little bit more depth. Also features light and funny interviews. So, folks, we're gonna lean right into it now. We're gonna just jump right in, and let's get the first slide up there so we can have a quick chat about it. And that's one where we're looking at some, we put an economic slant on everything, and so we're looking at the Small Business Bureau, saying that they're no longer accepting applications for small business grants. Of course, small business grants are intended to help to bolster the development of businesses throughout the country. We especially want to see businesses development bolstered during a time when there's high prices and there's a worry about shortage of goods and services. So if businesses are able to increase their production, whether it be farmers, whether it be other small businesses, hopefully that will bring down prices. You'll see through economies of scale, you'll see them get lower prices and so on as they expand, and that will help to cool off some of the hot prices, the hot cost of living, the biting cost of living that we see in Guyana right now. But we're seeing from the Small Business Bureau is closing off applications for grants. Like viewers, it's only June. It is only June. We're halfway into the year, and already all the applications for grants are closed off. So more than half of the year, we're going to be in an environment where you're not getting these access to these grants. That raises a question as to whether there was enough put aside in the budget for the Small Business Bureau in the first place, because it should not be that after only half of the year you're unable to take any further applications and so on. Rather, it should be that over the course of the year, you're able to consistently serve the population until you get a fresh budgetary allocation, and then you can move forward. One of the things we've not seen the government do actually is go back to Parliament for a supplementary budget to address further cost of living issues, given that we've got a war in Ukraine and so on that has pushed up the price of many things from flour to gas, other foodstuffs. So we've not seen the government make any real effort to go back to Parliament to robustly address these issues. As a result, we're still stuck with that same 5 billion allocation, which we've mentioned many times on these programs is less than 1% of the national budget, less than 1% of the national budget put towards cost of living mitigation. And this is, of course, the biggest budget by far in the country's history, well, almost 50% bigger than the previous year. And yet, we've seen less than 1% put towards cost of living mitigation. We've seen one or two measures when it's purchasing of fertilizer, one or two cash grants. But these things are nowhere near the scale that they would really need to be to properly address the cost of living crisis. And we've seen inflation and so on pick up over the course of the year. So this is something that is very concerning, that we're not seeing good enough allocations, large enough allocations to the areas that really matter. But rather, the government's priorities seem to be very much off, very much off. So that's the first thing. Let's get the next slide up. We wanted to give viewers again a sense of the leader and his qualifications there. So we just want to throw up again just a quick CV for the leader. Yeah, it's important for us to know the qualifications, the skills, the competencies of our elected officials, of our public officials. And so, this is a leader that has a diploma in the area of political science, has a degree with honors from the University of Guyana in the area, again, of political science, and then has, an international relations master's degree from University of Kent, a UK university. It's nice to see that we have leaders with degrees from reputable universities, ones that we can point to on a map. That's a good thing to see. I don't know if you agree. We've also got a leader who has lectured at the University of Guyana in multiple different areas relating to political science and international relations and so on, and has indeed lectured many people who are in politics today. So that's something that's I think a really good thing to see, a leader who is a professor, who is accustomed to looking at closely at analysis And on top of all of that, he also worked with young people on the previous administration, helping to develop Guyana's young people as a workforce. So we've got a leader with a dynamic background, with a strong public policy background, a strong foreign relations background. He was also a foreign relations officer for the Guyana government. So we've got a leader who is, as we say in Guyana, knows his onions. So we wanted to make sure that people are aware of this. People are aware that the leader has is a high level of qualification. People are aware that the leader has served in various posts over the years and has been able to gain those experiences over the years and to perform in those various functions. It's not good to have a country where leaders do not have any, even the most minimum level of qualification. We want a country where, as much as possible, we have leaders across the board. I'm not singling out anyone here, but across the board, who have a good level of qualification, who have a good level of experience, so that we can get good quality governance. That is what is really important. We want to get good quality governance across the board, across all different levels of government. So, of course, it's a good thing to have leaders who have been able to qualify themselves and who have been able to get good experience. So those are the qualifications of the leader. Just giving you an indication of them. Got a diploma in political science. Got a first degree with honors in political science, and then got a master's in international relations. Plus he's a professor. He's a lecturer. So these are the things that you should be proud to see in the leadership of your country. So that's one area that we wanted to give you guys some perspective on as we roll along here. That's what we're seeing with the leadership of the PNCR, and of course amongst the leadership of the PNCR and various functions within the PNCR. You've got engineers, you've got economists, you've got lawyers. You've got a lot of high degrees of competency in various areas. Some of you may know that I'm an economist, that I studied at Amherst College and worked at Goldman Sachs, worked at SARA here in Guyana. So you've got a wide range of competencies within the PNCR, which is a good thing, and which will help to provide, when we are in government shortly, the best level of governance, the highest quality of governance across the board. So we wanted to give you a sense of that as we go forward. We've got a flood that we're going to chat about a little bit later regarding, and we'll have Ms. Elizabeth Williams-Niles on, Vice Chair of the party, to speak about the flood. I expect her on in a few minutes there, and we're going to have a quick chat on that. While we wait on her, we can chat a little bit about the press conference and about gas prices, where we've seen the gas price continue to go up. And if we can get that slide up there with the gas prices, but we've seen some very concerning gas prices over the course of the past week, the past couple of months in the international markets. We're seeing oil again above $120 a barrel. Okay, so we're seeing one particular gas station here where $2.79. That's a hefty price. That's a very hefty price. It's one of the highest prices that I've personally seen. And in fact, in some areas you're seeing the highest prices ever on record. And that is incredibly concerning. But it's concerning for two reasons that we want to make sure we highlight. The first is a direct reason, which is that when you go to the pump, it's expensive, it's denting your budget, it's cost of living woes. And of course, we don't want to see that. We want citizens to be able to make progress in their life, not take steps back because of a terrible cost of living situation. So that's the first area of concern. But the second is that gasoline and the cost of gasoline is a major driver of inflation across the board. This is because gasoline is used in a wide range of areas that affect your cost of living. So if you think about the greens that you eat at that you buy at the market, they have to come from the farm to the market. But how are they getting transported? Is it a horse-drawn carriage or is it a gasoline-powered vehicle? So as gas goes up, what happens is that it has an effect on the greens in the market being more expensive. Similarly, when fertilizers and so on, which can be direct byproducts of the petroleum industry, or even when petroleum is used to generate electricity to create fertilizers and so on, you'll see the price of fertilizers increase. So as much as we've seen efforts to deal with the fertilizer crisis locally, the price is likely to increase again, which will again cause problems when it comes to the price of food and so on. So this is something, gasoline is pretty critical, is a pretty core part of this whole cost of living problem. And it may not seem at first that it is such an integral part, but it is absolutely integral. One thing that maybe viewers may not have thought of is this: if you see an increase in the price of flour, you can switch to ground provision, right? You can do that. If you have an increase in the price of gas, can you switch to some other fuel? No, you can't switch to anything else. There, you have to end up suffering the brunt of this, and so that's one of the reasons that gas ends up being such a big issue. There's also a concern in the economics community, a concern in the international community, that there may be a recession caused by these high prices. When oil prices are above $100 a barrel, economists begin to worry, and when they get close to $130 a barrel, it's been argued by other economists, and I agree with them, that your risk of a recession, your risk of the economy slowing down because of these high prices is higher. And what happens when the economy slows down? People lose their jobs, people are fired, businesses shut. We don't want that at all. We don't want a situation where the non-oil economy in Guyana suffers substantially from higher gas prices, thereby causing things like unemployment and closing of businesses. We want to ensure as much as possible that we have a balanced economy, that the economy is able to continue to grow. And there is no reason that we would want to allow those types of job losses and a recession even to occur. As much as it may occur in other countries, we're going to I think we should try to make the best effort to ensure that we're insulated from that with these high prices. There's indeed a risk or a consideration that these high prices may persist even longer. Of course, we've already seen them for a couple of months at an incredibly high level. Right now, this morning oil was at I think $124 a barrel. It's come off slightly. However, it's not far from 130, which is the number that I just indicated is a worrisome number. And it's not that far from $150 a barrel, which is again a very worrisome number. So, we could easily get there. To that end, you would have noticed in today's press conference that we spoke about spoke about the excise tax and mentioned a negative excise tax. Essentially, what we're trying to say is that there's already a policy in place to help us to deal with higher gas prices, and that policy is where we lower or raise the excise tax. That excise tax on gasoline, is a tax on gasoline, has been lowered gradually from 50% of the costs at the pump to 0%. It's gone now. And we're hearing the government say that there's nothing else that can be done. Nothing else that can be done. So I guess the plan from the government is that there is no plan, right? That's the plan, that there is no plan. So if we see gas go to 150, nothing else can be done. That's the argument we're seeing out of the government, which is truly comical because, tell you guys a secret. Guyana produces oil. Did you know that Guyana produces oil? So as much as the price is going up and hurting consumers, it's also massively benefiting the government in terms of additional revenue that we're able to receive. What we are saying is that we should compensate gasoline suppliers across the country once we have exhausted the excise tax, once we've passed over that 0% threshold, in order to keep prices within a reasonable range, or within a range that we determine. We should compensate suppliers for any additional price increases. This is really, if you think about it, just a continuation of that same excise tax policy, where we want to keep prices within a reasonable range for consumers, and especially stop substantial price spikes and so on, because those kind of really affect businesses in a negative way. So that's essentially what we are indicating should be done. That we may face a period of prolonged higher oil prices. This is going to be a real drag on the economy. So the idea that we can just proceed with no plan, that we can just not have a plan, is the furthest thing from acceptable. Rather, we need to always have a plan. We need to always have a structure, a strategy in place to deal with these issues. And we must think to ourselves as well, how fortunate we are that we actually are producing oil. There was a time when we were not producing oil, yet we faced high oil prices. And what happened? We had to bear the brunt of that. We had to absolutely bear the brunt of that. Uh, Fortunately, as we say in Guyana, this time in a long time, we have the resources to be able to offset some of this uh, very sharp increase in the price of gas. If you look at only late last year, it was 70 something dollars a barrel last year, $70 $80 a barrel. So we've seen a massive change in that price, and we're potentially seeing a change that's even higher than that as the year rolls on. One of the reasons for this is just to give you a little bit of a sense of what's going on. You've had lockdowns in China that have come to an end, more or less, which has allowed people to move around in that country again. And in order to move around, they need gas. So as a result of them moving around, that they've been able to, as a result of them moving around, they've been able to they're consuming more gas. And as the summer rolls around, summer comes through, they're going to be consuming even more gas. There's going to be travel and so on. People have been pent up over the course of COVID. So that's going to be a real problem. And we, of course, don't want it to be a situation where Guyanese have to bear the brunt of all of these high prices. The economy potentially, goes into a recession, jobs are lost. Meanwhile, we're raking in extra monies, and we can do something about it. It seems to me that that is wholly absurd. We're gonna bring on our guest now, Miss Elizabeth Williams. She's gonna tell us a little bit about some flooding that we've observed. But actually, well, we're gonna have her on in a minute. We're gonna also take a look at some pictures and images regarding the flood situation. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we're gonna take a look at some pictures and images regarding the situation, the flooding situation as well. So when Ms. Williams is ready, we're gonna have her in here. Yeah, Ms. Williams, are you there? Yeah, if we could get her on. All right, Ms. Williams, if you could put on the mic, we would appreciate it.
I have on the mic.
Great, great, great. All right. Well, I'm sorry to hear that Guyanese are suffering from flooding. That is really unfortunate. And if you could give our viewers a sense of what's been going on, maybe they would have a better idea. It is the rainy season, so this is something that affects everyone.
Good evening, guests. Thank you, Elson, once again for having me on your show. Forgive the background noise. I'm also in the kitchen making dinner. The whole normal duties, you gotta
Sure,
do.
sure.
But
I'm
I
sure it will be very tasty.
well, I hope so too. Um, Elson, I was over the weekend in the Diamond area, and many people, when you talk about flooding, many people would look at the outlying regions and so forth to believe that, okay, flooding is only there and it's not affecting. But because of the geographical locations of some houses, how it is set out, and the fact that some of the canals aren't big if they have that, or some of the coker, not coker, the culverts aren't cleaned good. Some areas, some places would get flooding. And sadly enough, one family actually called me and they say that, Miss Elizabeth, we really want to highlight a problem because we went to the NDC, that's in the Diamond Grove area, NDC, and nothing is being done. One of the sad things about it is that one of the ladies that when I was doing the interview, she got we be calling our local term sugar, and one of her feet had to be toes had to be
Yeah,
cut.
diabetes. Yeah,
Diabetes, yes. So and so there I was. I went to this area and I took the pictures for myself. I saw it. And simply, Elson, things that can be simply done by a little patchwork, a little setting, a couple of men in the area just to clean it or so. It took me going in there, and I'm telling you this, it took
yeah,
me going in there on Sunday, taking the pictures, other people seeing it, and then
yeah,
immediately on Monday, that is when
yeah.
some relief came to the residents, because even though they had what was called a the thing
Yeah.
that digs the drain, the
Yeah, it was an excavator
machine,
came in
excavator. They
and
had
took
one
care of
there.
it.
Nobody
Yeah,
was coming, and we live in a
yeah,
country, Elson, wherewith uh we live in a country wherewith you have to either go on social media, cuss out or so forth. But why do we have to behave like this to get anything done? Simple,
yeah, yeah.
simple thing. What I
Yes,
observed
I
is
see,
that
I see.
the entire
Yeah,
area wasn't actually flooded, but
yeah,
one man put up a three-story building, block off a part of the drainage system. And under his drain, because he got concrete bridge, under his drain, the place is blocked. We had two houses away from him. We had an old couple living there. And the people began to cry because their houses was actually flooded. They have flat house. Race took their little pension, probably combined it for 2 or 3 months,
yeah.
raised the house, and then guess what, Elson?
Mm.
The people house flooded out. And this old people. The second place that
Oh,
I went over to is another couple. They rented their downstairs to a woman who desperately needed some
yeah.
place to live. Desperate. When I tell you desperate, Elson,
Yeah, well, the times are
desperate
hard when it comes
to
to
live.
rentals in the
And
country right now.
God, and they gave the woman just 2 days before. And at
Mm.
3 o'clock in the morning, and the woman barely had a mattress, Elson. At 3 o'clock in the morning, the woman felt as though she wanted to know if she'd urinated or skid or sun urine
Yeah,
because
the
she
place is
was
wet.
living there. Yes. When the woman actually turned over, the woman fall in. The
Oh,
mattress
wow.
was swimming. The house was
Oh
actually,
my
so they were
gosh.
actually in water. The
Yeah, oh
fridge that
my.
they had
Oh
was
my.
beginning to the current to start it to shock and
Yeah,
so forth. And
yeah,
it
yeah.
was so
That's a very
sad. I
dangerous
went into that
situation.
woman's house. I saw the marking, you know, and
Yeah.
tears came to my eyes. What was much was she had a little baby, a little boy, and she had to throw away that mattress. And she was looking at me like this, oh my God. And I said, okay, I told her immediately, I said, don't worry.
Mm.
I have a bed. I have a portable bed, a new brand. I'm gonna bring it for you immediately.
Yeah.
So I
Well, it's
asked
very
the
kind of
landlord
you.
to come get it, and we
Yeah.
deliver it, because I'm looking at a young single mother who
Mm.
desperately need
Yeah.
somewhere
Yeah.
for her to
Absolutely.
rest her head, and she only
Yeah.
have one mattress. Going around the streets, if you see how these people houses were inside were flooded out, the clothes,
Yeah.
everything in the bottom floor damaged, their TV
Wow.
stand, every single thing, their
Yeah.
freezer, their fridge, everything, their cupboards, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
weeks they were talking and they're running, and was a simple matter. We have two seasons, the sunny and the rainy season. When the rainy season is about, when the sunny season is there, make sure the drains are unclogged, make sure the
Yeah.
culverts are running good. And because we don't need this, we don't need to incur costs, we don't need to make our people suffer. But I
Yeah.
guess if some other person coming from some other country, they will get the best treatment. And so it was until those people reach out to me and I started to take the pictures, started to interview. Then yesterday morning, the man called me, Miss Elizabeth.
Yeah.
Funny enough, the entire NDC is out here. Because one of the
Wow.
ladies went there and she just let go. Guyana term, caught through,
Wow.
you know. And
Yeah.
the
I see. I
videos
see.
that I made, the videos, no,
Well,
but they
it's
were actually
unfortunate that had to come to that. It's unfortunate it had to
always.
come
This
to
is
that.
Guyana
You
we
know.
talking about, Elson.
Yeah,
Always it will come to that.
that's
The
terrible.
only way we get any justice in this country is when you cuss out, when you go on. But how many people? Honestly, I sit today and I listen to a couple of people, and they were saying they are just fed up. They just
Yeah,
want
I
to
bet.
get out of this country. They want to run. But this is the land of my birth. Why am I running? Why
Yes,
am
yes,
I running, Elson? We
yeah,
can't run. And I said
yeah.
to one of the person that was talking, evil continues to exist because y'all just sit down here, y'all are not doing anything. Everybody's just afraid, and then you're gonna be, if you get a little opportunity to run, you will run. Else, so many things can be just fixed with a simple. We just have. There is no one Guyana. Let me just say that. There is no one Guyana. There is
Yeah.
no wherewith we are a united body, and wherewith if this person gets a little problem, I watch on the other side of the street, the neighbor wasn't getting the problem. And as the people think, if you see the neighbor's reaction, she doesn't care, and she don't, as long as she's not being flooded out, you
Wow.
know, it's until it reaches your door, then is when you will care. Else
Yeah,
it is a sad
yeah.
state of
Well,
affairs.
what I would say is, first of all, it should not come to having people being so frustrated that they have to take to the media to get problems solved. That's unacceptable. And the second is, we always like to remind Guyanese, this time not long time, eh? We have a situation where the country is making progress, where we're seeing monies be earned, where we're moving, the finances of the country are improving, but people are not benefiting from it on the ground
Elson,
level.
I'm
That
saying
is
it again.
very
Three
disturbing.
Belange, three. Let me tell you, three Belange is $500.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
During the
yeah,
week, we are greens people. I already but say what I'm
yeah,
cooking in the morning. We are
yeah,
greens people. You want to eat your greens because you're living in a country, you want to be healthy, and so forth. Three Belange. Banga Mary, which is one of the cheapest fish, is 260 at the
mm,
wharf. This is at the wharf. Don't talk at the market.
yeah, yeah,
260. I have somebody who normally gets my fish, and I would ask her, what is this? What price? She said, Miss, I asked her because I'm due to get fish this week. Miss, 260, right? And if you wait until Saturday, it's 300.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, wow,
So I
goodness
know
me.
it's 260. I'm gonna order fish from her tomorrow morning and so forth. But that's the state of affair. Poor people can't live anymore in this country. And the rich and the affluents are those who are tapping into the cookie jar, and they no longer care. Because as long as you're aligned to a certain sect, as long as you're aligned or you're doing certain things, they do not care anymore. Right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
really, really a sad affair, Elson. It's really, really a sad affair. My heart breaks to the poor and the downtrodden in this country. My heart grieves to what is actually happening in
yeah.
this country. You know?
Yeah, yeah, couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree
Yeah.
more. We saw
It
in
is
today's
sad.
press
It is sad.
conference.
If I did not go there in the diamond area, nobody would have come out to clear that culvert. And so simple thing that could be
Yeah,
done, right? And people's house, thousands, maybe in the millions of dollars, if you see more than 7 houses flooded
yeah,
out,
yeah,
property damage, your electrical appliances damage. You could have died because of the shock, get disease because of the water and so forth. And let
yeah,
me tell you something. People are comfortable, but it people are just shutting their mouth and just saying, well, we can't talk because we government in power. They're giving me a little handout, they're giving me a little 100,000, they're giving me else. So we are in a bad state in this country. My students, I'm telling you this, we are in a bad state in this country. The mere fact that people gotta compromise and shut their mouth, they will die even before the time because of secrecy.
yes. It's incredibly sad. It's an incredibly sad situation. Of course, in today's press conference, we spoke again about the minimum wage, about the needs for the government to approve that higher minimum wage, which of course will just be a start. But I mean,
They will
it's
not do
totally
that, Elson.
unacceptable.
Elson, the government has no plan for development in this country. They will not do that. Don't let me
Yeah,
fool you. And many
totally
people are too.
unacceptable.
And let me tell you something, Elson, 100,000 is a blink. I can tell you that in 3 seconds. How 100,000 will finish just in my kitchen. The
Yeah,
things
yeah,
in that you gotta buy. You now got to be
absolutely.
monitoring people and tell them don't eat this and don't eat that. If you're eating, be moderate. Because because cost of living has gone skyrocketed. What
Yeah,
about the
well,
people?
we've heard the FAO, I believe, say that Guyanese have started to cut back on meals as a way to
Yeah.
combat the cost of living crisis. Take this opportunity to remind viewers that Guyana is the fastest growing country in the entire world, and yet people are cutting back on meals. That's how ridiculous this situation is.
Mm-hmm.
It's so ridiculous, and it's not to say this is the only year. Last year we were one of the fastest growing countries. The year before we were the fastest growing country in the world. How is it that we are in this position? This is absolute nonsense by the
Mm-hmm.
government. And to hear that Guyanese are cutting back on meals is really tragic. This is a time of plenty, but it is a time of plenty for some and not a time of
Yeah.
plenty for
And
others.
people will eat at the Marriotts and they will eat prawns, they will eat this, they will take. But Elson, even in closing and coming off, I tell people, God doesn't like ugly. I have a saying every time I get into my home, I step into the door. I say, God, thank you for bringing me home. When I leave, I jump in the vehicle. I say, God protects, guide. You know,
Sure.
we are living in serious times. And God really, really do not like ugly. People are suffering in this country. And people are suffering because of the color of the skin or because their alignment to some other party. Or because you might be your color of your skin might say, okay, you are aligned to a certain political party. And if you're not, a young man called me yesterday and he said, Miss Elizabeth, I'm talking and I'm laughing. These people said because I'm aligned, they cannot give me any job. I am sitting on a job and I'm drawing money and I am not doing anything. They said they will frustrate me out of my job. They will
Wow.
make because they can't. This is a wicked, a brilliant young man. And I
Yeah,
told him, I said, just hang in there, son.
yeah,
Nothing lasts forever.
yeah, yeah. Well, that is, first of all, it is wrong to discriminate based on people's political beliefs. Everyone is entitled to have their political belief, on a basic level. But also, those things have dire consequences for your economy because
Mhm.
your talented labor will want to leave, they'll be
And that's
frustrated.
when I teach my children about development.
Yeah,
The
they won't
human
be
aspect
able
of
to
development
actually,
is no longer there. You put
yeah,
incompetent people in
yeah,
jobs to make decisions that will cost you more. You
yeah.
know, I
Well,
laugh
we
at some of
know,
the things them that I see. We
yeah,
little projects, little things.
yeah.
I can tell my boys, I can say, let us create a business. Tell me how you're gonna do it. They might not know how to write it, but they can tell you. And if a child who's being trained to do that can do that, what about somebody who actually have the knowledge to
Yeah,
do it,
yeah,
Elson?
yeah,
We're in a sad state, and let me tell you, Elson, I will be one of the persons who will stand and talk out. I will be one of the person who will stand up for what I believe in. Nelson Mandela didn't get South Africa to the place where he was, where it is today, because he sat back quietly. Yes, he spent 27 years in jail. And yes, Martin Luther King, I would not want to die. I would like to see my children's children. But peradventure, that is what God, but I will stand up. I will not be quiet in the face of evil. Our
yeah,
country is dying from the foot up. And let me tell you something, wickedness cannot continue to prevail. It may only appear to last. Simple thing. That thing that where those people were talking about for weeks. It wasn't the first flood, it was the second, it was the seventh time their homes were flooded out. They
wow,
raised
wow,
that money, raised the floor. And a
yeah, and
simple
still
thing that
wasn't enough.
clearing the culvert costs some people millions of dollars.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Not to mention the health and safety concerns, very
Exactly.
serious health
When I came
health
out today,
concerns.
because I went into the house, I
Yeah,
literally took off my sneakers right away. Even I had on sneakers, and I have sanitized and I spray my feet. I
yeah,
spray rubber
yeah.
right away because I scorn the place.
Yeah, well,
And
you
it's
have
not as well.
leptospirosis and you have cholera, and there are various diseases that are associated with stagnant water. Not to mention mosquitoes, right? We
Right?
know that this is a very unhealthy situation, and I'd also just point out, the quality of governance in Guyana. is something that has concerned a lot of international organizations. IMF has said that it's concerned about the quality of governance in the country. And it's no surprise if, there's a focus on discrimination rather than competency
Well,
that you're going to
the truth
see.
of the matters is that these international organizations recognize that what is happening in Guyana, and so that's why people need to talk out. That's exactly why people need to talk out. They're blatantly seeing it, and now people are recognizing that this is not a one Guyana. Some people come on the international scene and talk about. You know,
Yeah,
it is
yeah.
blatant discrimination that is taking place.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It is the opposite. Whatever the opposite of one Guyana is, that's what it
Yeah.
is. Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Miss Williams, for coming on and for
Welcome,
sharing some really
Elson.
vital information with us, and sharing some perspective as the year rolls on and as we continue to see really awful governance by the PUP, where they're not paying attention to the needs of people across a wide range of areas. So thank you very much for coming on. It's always good to
You're
have you.
welcome, my boy. Always a pleasure.
All right, so that was Ms. Elizabeth Williams Niles, the vice chairman of the PNCR, who is just came to share what she observed regarding flooding in the Diamond area and difficult circumstances that some citizens were faced with. So that's something that we don't want to see at all in this country. She was indicating that even you've got single mothers and so on that are faced with difficult living conditions. We always say, this is a time of plenty, and in a time of plenty, you expect people's to be, people's standard of living to be improving, things to be getting better, not for them to be getting worse. However, as we we have a few things that we repeat quite often on the lowdown. That's because they are true, and seem to be being more and more true as time goes on. And one being, oil is a funny man. Oil is a tricky thing. And it is entirely possible for things to get worse rather than better with oil resources. That is entirely possible. And unfortunately, that is what we are seeing, where people's standard of living is falling, cost of living is pushing people's standard of living down. But the country is pumping a lot of oil, 340, 350,000 barrels of oil, more than Trinidad was at its peak by far, and we instead of seeing people's lives get better, it's getting worse. And you may say, oh, well, we don't have anything to spend, we're just pumping oil money. But I'll gently remind you that we just passed the largest budget in the country's history by far, almost 50% bigger than the last budget. So clearly there's money somewhere to be spent. But what's gone towards cost of living? Less than 1% of that budget has gone towards cost of living mitigation. Really, really sad, really troubling. And that's why we're seeing people cry out all across Guyana on these issues. So we, on the other hand, have called for various proposals, various actions to be taken to mitigate these issues. First of all, we are always in favor of good governance, responsive governance, and so people should never be being flooded out and so on. That's never going to be acceptable. And I don't know if our audience, you would recall that when the coalition was in office, Georgetown, as an example, all of a sudden the city wasn't flooding. This city that floods nonstop when the PDP seems to be in office, all of a sudden the city wasn't flooding. I don't know how that happened. Yeah, was it a coincidence that throughout the entire time APNU AFC was in office, you had Georgetown with hardly any flooding? It's not a coincidence. It's because of responsive governance that is focused on making sure that people have a better quality of life, as opposed to governance that is focused on how fast and how much you could thief, as we saying, thieving out that oil money. That's what the the government is focused on. So as a result, yeah, people are not getting heard. I want to now talk, and if we can get at the last few slides there, with the leader being followed by police officers, which is a very disturbing thing to have observed in recently. So we did see the leader of the opposition, leader of the PNTR, leader of the PNU, being followed by police officers which is very troubling. Of course, police officers shouldn't be just following you just like that if you're an ordinary citizen. That's very very concerning. And also, when the leader asked them, why they were following him, the indication they said is they're just following orders. Of course, as the leader indicated in the press conference today, it's two young policemen. There are other policemen that are directing them. But for me, when I hear any government official that is charged with the safety of the public or that has access to firearms and so on and so forth, when I hear, in any government system, the words "we're just following orders," I get very, very, very disturbed because, as much as I'm sure these are fine gentlemen, history has demonstrated that when atrocities happen, what do people say? They say that we're just following orders. Again, I'm sure I'm not referring to these young men in particular, but I'm saying that more generally, we should not be hearing in Guyana from any law enforcement official, we're just following orders. That is incredibly disturbing. We've also seen, the potential murder of a citizen who was shot 5 times in his back and 1 time in the front, as far as the postmortem indicates. This is someone, the police were allegedly or indicated that they were pursuing and so on. But it seems to me that for shooting anyone 5 times in the back raises some questions. So we want to see as a fair trial. We want to see a proper investigation. We want to see, if necessary, a criminal investigation, because this is a highly concerning incident. Again, so this is two incidents with the Guyana Police Force where there's some concerning events, and so we want to see these incidents properly dealt with, because it's the furthest thing from acceptable that the police might abuse their power. So these things need to be investigated so we know whether or not that's the case. Of course, the viewers will recall the Orange Boston shooting, where again there was a call for a proper investigation into these types of issues, and there's concern, which is why investigations are needed, so we understand what the facts are. That we're seeing extrajudicial killings again, that is very concerning. So we need to see proper investigations. We need the facts to come out. We need to see the law take its course if a crime has indeed been committed. Of course, we don't know, but we need to see that properly investigated. That is something that is important for the rule of law. It is important for citizens to feel comfortable and safe. It is important for citizens not to feel that police officers are abusing their powers. It's important that citizens don't feel that. That's why it's important to get these types of investigations, proper investigations. And for those, if people have engaged in crimes, for them to be dealt with properly. As I had indicated, it is extremely concerning to hear any law enforcement officer, whether it is military, whether it's police, whether it is Coast Guard, say we're just following orders. That is very concerning. And any system in which officers or soldiers or Coast Guard people say things like we're just following orders when challenged with a violation of citizens' rights is highly concerning, and in fact, what you've seen across the world and some of the greatest atrocities is we're just following orders. In fact, of course, this is an example from the past, and we're hoping not that this is not the case, and we're not going to see this type of highly disturbing trend in Guyana. But if viewers would recall, but the Nazis are people who claim that they were just following orders when they were killing lots of people, and so we don't want to see anybody. At no point in Guyana should law enforcement officers, when citizens' rights, there's a question of citizens' rights being violated, the words "we're just following orders" should never come out of anybody's mouth. That should not be coming out of anybody's mouth. There needs to be a justification. Sir, we're here for the security. Sir, we're here because there's been some sort of a threat. Sir, we're here because we're wanting some criminal activity. Those are acceptable things to say. we're just following orders is a very alarming thing to say. Of course, these are, I'm just talking about the system. We don't want to see that ever come up in our system. And for these two policemen, I don't even know who the policemen are. We hope that in the future we don't see anything to this effect going forward. So that is it. It's a couple of days with the Guyana police force that I think some citizens has made some citizens very uncomfortable, and we want to see better going forward, because we've had a bad past in this country of extrajudicial killings and so on and so forth, and we are not about to have that be repeated. Put it that way. Okay, folks, that's the end of the lowdown tonight. Thank you again for joining us. Thank you for coming and getting a sense of what's been going on in the country. What are some of the issues of the day? What are some of the things that we've been saying and the actions that we've been taking? And what is critical right now in Guyana. So thank you very much for tuning in. Of course, we've got a show on Saturday night. And on that Saturday night show, we're going to discuss, various other issues in a bit more depth. But thank you for joining us here on the Lowdowns. Thank you for starting your week on a high with Elson Low. And we'll catch you on Saturday.
Thank you for watching our program. See you right back here, same place, same time. And remember, hold the line of battle, comrades. Our victory is sure.